Welcome back. We have a superb video here on adding, subtracting, and multiplying complex numbers. There's a few examples here, so let's get started here. Basically, when you go to add, subtract, you just basically kind of combine like terms here. You know that you have 4 minus I is the complex number, and 3 plus 2I is the other complex number. So then we're going to take, let's go 4 minus I and 3 plus 2I. We're supposed to add, so we're going to add those together. And so when you get those numbers there, 4 plus 3 is 7. Negative 1 plus 2. Negative 1 plus 2 is a positive 1I. And we do have it in standard form. I comes second in that standard form. There you go. We combine the numbers without the imaginary unit, and then we combine the numbers with the imaginary unit to come up with the simplification there. Same thing here. Example number 2. Example number 2 says, what is the sum? We know that sum means addition. So what is the sum of 2I? Well, remember 2I is a complex number in standard form. It would just be 0 plus 2I is what it would look like if it were to look like this next one, where it would have, if it had a number without an imaginary unit, that's what it would look like. The next complex number is negative 5 minus 6I, and then the last one is 7. And if you imagine it to have the 0I there, that would help you line things up. Now, I'm doing it horizontally. You can just do it, or I'm sorry, I'm doing it vertically. You can do it horizontally if you choose. This says sum, so we're going to put a plus sign here. 0 plus negative 5 plus 7, it should be 2. 2 plus negative 6 plus 0, 2 plus negative 6 is negative 4I. And there's the sum of those three numbers. Example 3 here says, if C minus D were equal to 7, and C is equal to, there we go. You can see it now. And C was equal to 3 minus 4I, what is D? And this is basically substitution. So we have C minus D is equal to 7. Well, C is 3 minus 4I minus D, and that's equal to 7. Okie dokie. Essentially here we do not need these parentheses. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides, and we will also add 4I to both sides. And so when we do that, cancel, cancel, leaving us negative D is equal to 4 plus 4I. And multiply everything on the left side by negative 1 to make it a positive D. Multiply everything on the right side by negative 1 to get this for your value of D, negative 4 minus 4I. Alrighty, and here's one. What is the product? Product means multiplication. So if we were to have 4 minus 3I, that number, that complex number, and we multiply it by negative 7 minus 2I, that complex number, well, let's just go from there. Product, so if we multiply binomials, multiply the first terms. 4 times negative 7 is negative 28. 4 times negative 2I is negative 8I. multiply the inner numbers. Negative 3 times negative 7, well, that's a positive 21i. And then multiply the last numbers. Negative 3 times negative 3i times negative 2i. Well, negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 2 is 6. I times I is I squared. And so this is what we are working with. Well, I squared, instead of I squared, we could be thinking that it's equal to negative 1. In case you forgot, I is equal to the square root of negative 1. Therefore, when you square both sides, I squared is equal to 1. And so that's why we're plugging negative 1 in there. And so this leaves us with a negative 6 here. Negative 28 minus 6 should be negative 34. Negative 8 plus 21 should be negative 8 plus 21 is a positive 13. I. And there you go. It's in standard form. Negative 34 plus 13i. And this last one here has a few steps. Let's look at our order of operations. We're supposed to do what's in grouping symbols. Nothing to do here really. Here we could change it to 3 minus, pull out the I and leave the square root of 6 inside. But I know that when we do the multiplication right here, look at these two. These two are going to be conjugates of each other, which they will, they're going to help us out. They're going to help eliminate some terms for us. So let's go ahead and leave that one like that. We're not going to do any simplifying inside those grouping symbols. Next step down is exponents. We can go ahead and do these exponents here. If we have 2 square root of 5 times 2 square root of 5, well, 2 times 2 gives us 4. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5, which then is 20. Four times 5 makes 20. That's why that was 20. And so if that's 20, and we're going to minus. All right, no more exponents. So let's do multiplication and division, and we know that this is multiplication. 3 times 3 is, since this has the minus sign, I'm going to put my multiplication inside one large parentheses here, because essentially this negative sign is going to have to go to everything inside on the next step. Okay, 3 times 3 is 9. Do the outer numbers. This is going to give us a positive 3 square root of negative 6. This will give us, the inner numbers will give us a negative 3 square root of negative 6. And then if we go a negative times a positive, that's a negative. The square root of negative 6 times the square root of negative 6 will give us negative 6. That term and that term there, 3 square root of negative 6 and negative 3 square root of negative 6, cancel each other out, leaving us with, that should become a plus. 9 plus 6 is 15. So we have 20 minus 15, which then is 5. This problem took everything we've done in the first 4 examples and utilized them to simplify. So there you go. I know you can't have much more fun than that right there.